So we have 59 stitches of color B, and we ended picking up stitches and the ball of color B is here. We're going to skip 6 chains here and begin picking up stitches with color A. But what we need is both balls of yarns to be here at the same end. So I'm going to leave the ball of yarn here. I measured the amount of tail that I need, and using this tail I'm going to continue picking up stitches with color A. So I'm going to take my tail, leave the ball here together with the ball of color B, and I'll just show you how I pick up the stitches. So we have the chain here, the flat chain, and we have the bump at the back. And I want to insert my needle into this bump and create the stitch. Look for the bump, insert the needle into the bump and create a stitch. And sometimes the bumps, it seems like it's twisting, the chain is twisting, so just take a look and you can see this wavy bump, and then you know again where you need to pick up the stitch. Or look for the V, the flat V, and then turn the stitch, turn the chain around to the back, and then it's easy to identify the bump. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick up all the stitches with the tail of color A and see how to continue. We have all the stitches on our needles. We have a group of dark stitches, then a group of light stitches, and now we need to create the pairs. Both of the balls of yarn are connected here at the gap, and the tails are at the tips. We need to have the group of dark stitches on one needle and the group of the light stitches on the other needle. So just like we do with magic loop, we're going to pull the cord here at the gap and bring the stitches to the tip of the needle. So this is one needle for the dark stitches, and let's take the other needle and pull the stitches to the tip of the needle. And the cord is here, allowing us to bring the stitches forward. We want to hold the stitches in the other direction. So we want the dark stitches to be in front, on the front needle, and the light stitches to be on the back needle. We can see that the bumps of the purl, the wrong side, are facing each other, and the right side of these stitches is facing us. So dark stitches on the front, back is with the light stitches. And now we're going to create the pairs. We're taking a spare needle. It can be smaller just to hold the stitches, or it can be identical to the needle we picked up the stitches with, and that way we're going to just slip the stitches to this needle and begin to work the chart with this needle. Otherwise, we're going to have the stitches on the smaller spare needle and then begin working with the original needle for the rest of the neck warmer. We need to pick up one stitch from in each needle, and you should do it very slowly and mindful, and just make sure nothing slips away during this process. So we want to start with the dark stitch from the front, slip it, we're not turning it, just slip it purlwise, and then slip one stitch from the back needle. So it's a dark, light pair. Again, a dark stitch, and I'm holding the stitches when I slip them because I'm going to pull it to the right and I don't want them to slip. Then take the first stitch from the back needle, the light stitch, and again make sure you're holding the next stitch so it doesn't fall. So one dark, one light, hold the stitches so they don't fall off the needles, and be very, very close to the tips and small movements, because if you pull it too much, then you pull the rest of the stitches off the needle. So very, very close to the tips, and hold the needle that you're not using. Just do it slowly. One from the front, one from the back, one from the front, and one from the back, until all the stitches are slipped to the spare needle. And you can stop every once in a while, make sure that you have pairs of B, A, B, A, B, A, and that they are all in order. So if I stopped and checked, I can see that the last stitch has slipped was a light stitch, so my next stitch is a dark. So it's easy to know where you were and to keep track. And if you lose a stitch while you're doing this process, so let's say that my front needle was just slipped and I'm about to lose the stitch, don't worry, don't panic. You can always go with so make sure the back needle is not losing stitches, and you can always go with your needle into the bump and just pull the yarn through. Even if you totally lost the stitch, the yarn is still in the back. All you have to do is go into the bump and pull the yarn through. And if it's hard, then you just make sure I'm in the bump. I picked up the yarn here, and I just need to take the bump and take it over the yarn. And I lose the bump and I recreated the stitch. And I can place it back on my needle. And if it happens with the back needle, okay, if I lost a stitch here in the back needle, it's harder to do it on the wrong side. Just turn your work. So now the light stitches are on the right side, and let's say we lost this stitch. Again, the yarn is here. All we need to do is insert our left needle into the bump, go under the yarn, and pass this bump over the yarn and drop it. Make sure you take all the yarn and you don't split it, and that's it. We can slip this stitch back to the needle, turn, and we can continue slipping the stitches. So don't panic if you lose stitches. it's easy to repair. I'm looking at my pairs and it all seems to be fine, but here I see that I have 2 light stitches, so I got confused and I slipped 2 light stitches one after another. I need to fix this. So how do I go back? I just see my next stitch is a light stitch. I'm going to slip it back to the light needle, light stitches. Then I'm going to slip the dark one to the dark stitches needle, and the light to the light, the dark to the dark, until I reach the mistake, the light to the light. And here is my mistake, so now it's all fine and I have a light stitch. I'm going to slip a dark stitch instead of the light and continue in order. So this is how you fix a mistake where your pairs are in the wrong order. One more thing you want to check before you slip all the stitches and the chain is closed, and it happened to me so I can warn you ahead, is where the balls of yarns are in relation to the chain. So I can see that this blue, the dark yarn, is over the chain, which is what I want, because when I start working the stitches, it is coming outside the chain. You can see that my light ball of yarn is inside the chain, which means that when I finish slipping all the stitches and this is closed, I'm gonna have a problem. I did have a problem because my ball of yarn is going to be locked inside the chain. So before I went back and now I have enough space to fix that. I want to take the yarn that is under the chain from inside to outside, and be careful not to lose stitches. And now my yarn is over the chain. Both yarns are over the chain. So when I close the gap, I have them out and free to work. So make sure this is correct as well. And we can continue slipping all the stitches back to the spare needle. When all the stitches are on the spare needle, we can see that we have our pairs. It begins with a dark stitch and ends with a light stitch because they're all dark light pairs. So this is what you should have. Both yarns are over the chains and available to work with. And we are going to turn the work, so we have AB pairs. And if your spare needle is in the right size, you can start working with a spare needle. If not, then just take the original needle that you picked up the stitches with and begin working with it. And then when you work the first row, all the stitches will be on your correct needle and you can put the spare needle aside. So in order to work the first row of the chart, you need to make sure that your both balls of yarns are at the beginning of the row, and the first stitch you see is a light stitch. And now you're just ready to begin your chart.